Have a neat one for you here. Something I'm working on at work. So we have this I think it's 1977. It's kind of hard to nail down the year. But Winnebago. I think it's a Chieftain. Not really sure. But this thing's in remarkable shape. I've never seen one of these that actually shines before. I didn't even know these could come shiny. But we already have the nose off, but I'll get into that in a bit. Here we go in all its majesty. Got stickers. See if I can get up here because we already started taking it apart. You can see it's rich in 1970s goodness. Wood grain, kind of shaggy carpet. Has an interesting smell that I can't really nail down. It's not a bad smell, it's a different smell. It comes stacked with, like, you know, all the cups in the 70s and such. This is on a Dodge chassis. See, there's Chrysler stuff there in the corner. It's on a M400 chassis, which is like just a motorhome chassis. It's not like on a van chassis. Has a 440 and 727 transmission. AC, like nice shag carpet, freaking dash cover. But what we're doing here is we're actually taking this 440 out, and we're going to be putting a 6-liter LS truck motor and a 4L80 transmission in this thing. Nothing special, just wants reliability because you're going to be cruising this thing all over the country. And the 440, and it's not, I think it has like 120 on it, but that's like 3 times what most of these motorhomes get. A lot of these you see on Craigslist have like 30,000 miles on them. And they're sitting in someone's yard. The guy that had this actually used it before they bought it. So, I mean, 120,000 miles pushing, I don't know what this thing is, like 12,000 pounds or something. It's kind of hard on that engine. So it's kind of worn out. Plus, I mean, best case scenario, it's going to get like 4 miles per gallon. Maybe with an LS, it'll get like 6. So yeah, there's the initial walk around of it. Needs some brake work too. There's other stuff it needs, but the engine's the biggest project. So I wasn't really familiar with how these motors came out, but it turns out you can pretty much blow the whole front end off the Winnebago. And there's a cross member like here that comes out. The whole grill comes out. It's all screwed together. There's actually a flap here, like opens like a hinge, like sideways. But the motor pretty much just comes straight out. We pulled the carburetor and stuff off top of the motor, so it should slide straight forward with the transmission. There's nothing underneath of it, like the pan clears the axle. It has like a solid axle in it. But the other trick is too, we're going to make the Dodge power steering and brake hydro boost system go on to the LS motor and the air conditioning. Here's the AC lines here. Goes to an old, like a piston style York compressor. You can see the hydro boost setup in this wheel well here. There it is. Hydro boost and master cylinder. There's your steering box. It's kind of interesting design of everything. One of the fun things is too, this thing needs brake rotors. You see that crack right there, and they're unattainable. So I'm scouring the interwebs for some. It's not looking too promising so far, but there's got to be some somewhere. So worst case scenario, we're going to put another axle under it. But this is just part 1. I'm going to update as the project continues here. We're hoping to get it done before it gets real cold out because this thing won't fit in any of our buildings, so we're working on it outside. So before it gets too miserable, I hope to at least have the motor in and running so we can do the rest of it. So look for more updates soon. So I time traveled and the motor's out. As I said before, this whole nose had to come off. Motor did come right out. See, there's plenty of room for activities in here now. We're hoping to make the mounts off those for the LS. Everything else is kind of straightforward. The Mopar starter is still just dangling there. But probably just power the GM starter off that Mopar starter relay, which is kind of similar to a starter cylinder on a Ford, but a little more hokey. Still haven't found brake rotors for it. Working on that though. But everything's out of it and ready for the new motor. Show you the inside view here. Look at that. It'll be easy to work on when the new motor's in it. Thermal quad. Here's the junk that came out. Here's the 727. I don't know if I misspoke in the other video because it's been a while, but we assumed this thing had the e-brake on the trans. It doesn't, so that's kind of cool. It has a normal yoke, which means the truck probably has a normal e-brake in the back. And there's the 440, which, although it looks impressive, probably puts out like 140 horsepower. Just guessing. So I'll probably mention in the comments like, oh, it makes 190, whatever. But yeah, same thing from the Roadkill episode with the Pace Arrow, I think it was, where they pulled the 440. Same business here, motorhome 440. Nothing particularly special. It's just as greasy as theirs they pulled out. Actually, it's probably less greasy. But now it's time to put the Chevy LS goodness in it. It's weeks later, but we have touchdown. The 6-liter is physically in the beast. We just had the fan on here to check clearances. We use these, they're Speedway Universal LS mounts. My little idea for those to put the mounts on the pads didn't really work out. The motor front to back setback didn't work out for that. But we're still working on bracing them up, but you know, the motor's pretty much centered in there. We centered it based on the drive shaft U-joints, which you may be able to see. There we go. When you hold that drive shaft up to the yoke on there, it pretty much lines right up. So now if that works out, we can get a U-joint for it, we won't need to have a drive shaft made. That plate's just temporary there to hold everything in place. But the pan is kind of going to make contact with that freaking drag link there on the front axle, which I wasn't really expecting. I thought that was going to clear no problem, but the way it lined up, not that great. So I think we're going to swap pans to a front sump. Seems to be the general plan here. Corey owns this, has a front mount pan, he said. But I'll show you what it looks like from the inside. There we are at the inside. You can see, comparatively to the 440, there's plenty of room. The only issue that we have now is that, surprisingly, I think it's all due to the length of the transmission. The motor is actually more forward than we would like, but it's kind of where it's going to be. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to run the clutch fan. We might have to run an electric fan due to clearance. But the other reason we couldn't set it back was that the transmission was actually hitting like down here where the floor started to kick up. It was getting too tall for it. You can see it's right here where the floor like comes up to where you drive it from, the cab, I guess. Yeah, some progress being made. We're just gonna final weld all the mounts and get the motor really situated. Then we just need to hook everything else up around it. Just got the supports welded in for these mounts. So, not finally welded, they're just tacked in. We're still fitting everything together, but now you can see it's going to be a lot more structural. There's it from the other side. Here's the transmission cross member we've created. It's just a factory Chrysler one. There's where the holes went for the original Chrysler trans mount, and this one extends it out to the 4L80 trans mount. It's welded around there, slotted it in case we're not dead on with the measurements. Here it is installed in the vehicle. Don't mind the wires, but there's a new trans mount. There's the platform. It goes up here. It uses a different set of holes. It's kind of hard to see, but there's still 4 holes in there, but it's a different 4 holes than mounted before. So this was have 2 different patterns in it, like maybe one's for small block, one's for big block, but it fits in the other 4 holes. So that's the last of the engine mounting. Now we just gotta pull the motor out again and, you know, fix everything up and do it for real this time.